All right, everybody. So, welcome to Speech 145 Online Public Communication. I will tell you every week you will have a video to go along with what's going on in the class. This video is going to be longer just because I'm going to cover where everything's at. I'm going to cover a couple of things that'll be coming up through the semester, and then also covering this week's work. So, there is a lot in this video, but it will be the longest of all the weekly videos. So when you log into the class, it is going to look a little bit different than this, simply because I am in instructor mode right now. And that is only because everything is closed out. Currently, you're not able to access it. So it should look fairly similar. So when you log in, there's a couple things that are going to pop up. You're going to have the Get Started Here tab. You're going to have your syllabus, which should already be available. You'll have a weekly folders tab and an Oops Dropbox. The other thing that you'll see starting on Sunday of week one is the live policy sign up, which we're going to cover that as well. So the Get Started Here tab, there's a couple things in there for you. You'll have your course participation quiz. That is not going to impact your grade in this class at all. That is from the financial aid department, and that is for financial aid purposes. So you do need to complete it. It does need to be completed pretty quickly in the school year. So I just make it due the second day of class so that they are not calling you, contacting you to make sure that you are participating in the course. You've got the accessibility and privacy statements for software that will be used throughout this course, just so you're aware of what can be accessed using the software that we use. And then this is something new. I did not know about this previously, but the library does provide options for audio and video studios inside the library, which is actually really neat. So this link just gives you more information on that and then also how to book a space. This could be really useful for podcasting and also just recording any of your videos if you just would like a separate space to do that recording. So it's something to keep in mind. Definitely check it out. It is not a requirement for the course. There is a quick welcome to class video. You are not required to watch it. Virtual office hours, this is not required. If you have a question, send me an email. Don't request office hours because it's got like a 24-hour wait period. If it's just a question, send me an email. If you need to have like a serious, longer conversation, we can absolutely do office hours and do a Zoom session or a phone call, whatever works out best for you. But if it's just a quick question, send me an email. Other things in here, just how to upload to YouTube, Netiquette, how to find Word in your student email, because we will use Word or PDFs throughout the semester. And then, of course, if for any reason you need to take a leave of absence for the class, you need to get an excused absence, I've got the link for the Office of Student Advocacy. They can absolutely help you arrange that. And that can be super useful for other classes as well. So, the syllabus, I'm going to kind of run through it quickly. I'm not going to read all of it because you are completely capable of reading it for yourselves. But I do have some information here for you. So, the run date of the class, my contact information. If you need to reach me, the fastest way to reach me is through my faculty email because that is attached to my phone versus Blackboard email. I don't know if anybody's used the Blackboard app, but it is so terrible to log into, and you have to log in every single time on the app. So you will more than likely get a faster answer if you send me an email to my faculty email. So in this course, we will not have a meeting weekly. You will only have one live session at the end of the semester, which is going to be that live policy sign up that I kind of mentioned earlier. We'll talk about that more in depth. You'll have one time that you meet in this class on Zoom, and it will be mandatory for the course. So, learning outcomes, the biggest thing is you will get an equivalent of a face-to-face version of this course. Required material, I will provide all of the web links and PDFs for reading throughout this semester. If I can save you some money in textbooks, I will do the extra research and find that free material for you so that you're not having to spend additional money. This is just kind of things that you agree to by staying in the course. So it is an online format. You will have one Zoom session at the end of the semester, but otherwise you will be able to work kind of at your own pace. You will have due dates. Things will close out after the date passes, but otherwise everything's open and you can absolutely work ahead on most of the assignments for this class. You are encouraged to ask questions. If you're not sure about something, please don't feel like you can't ask a question. That is what I'm here for. I'm here to help guide you through this course. Ask, even if you think it might be a silly question, totally fine. Again, that's what I'm here for. Feel free to reach out and ask. I would much rather someone ask a question and be able to complete their assignment versus not being able to successfully complete something because they were unsure and a little bit nervous about asking. So you're going to need to have access to a computer or a way to record because you will be recording pretty frequently throughout this course. You do need to have access to the internet. It is an online course. So saying, well, I don't have access to the internet is not a valid excuse because you have enrolled in an online course. There is, of course, Wi-Fi on campus that you have access to in many locations. So just make sure that you are prepared throughout the semester. We will use Zoom at the end of the semester. I always encourage students to use Zoom just because it's one of the easier platforms for recording and it makes things like the podcast easy because it's going to break it into two separate things with your video and your audio files. I strongly encourage that, but you have other platforms that you can also use for recording, such as Canva. There's Prezi, Microsoft Teams, which I actually do not like at all. So I will not be super helpful in support on that if you have questions, just because I don't use it frequently. So I'm not very familiar with it. There's also Google Meet. So there's lots of ways to record in this course. I just strongly encourage using Zoom because you will be using it later in the semester. So you've got to have at least a basic knowledge of things like web browsers, using Microsoft Word to create files, email, attaching documents, all that good stuff. If you are experiencing any kind of technology problem, make sure that you are reaching out to IT, especially if it's something like Blackboard is not letting you log in. I have no way to do anything with Blackboard other than post assignments, grade them, and give you feedback. So if you have questions, Blackboard's locked you out, something like that, your email is locked out, make sure you're reaching out to IT. It is like hit or miss, to be honest, at this point. Sometimes I get a faster response if I call the IT office. Sometimes they get a faster response if I submit to the self-service portal. It honestly has just become like a hit or miss game on which one's faster. So assignments, I do have it broken down by everything you're going to be doing. Peer feedback, this will only happen for two assignments, for your podcast and for your advocacy. These are the only two assignments you will have to do written feedback. You will do feedback live in our live policy session, but that's the only place. That's just to give us a chance to kind of interact with classmates throughout the semester. Social media advocacy, that will be one assignment. And I'm not going to go through all of these in detail simply because we will talk about them in the weekly videos. You'll have a podcast. You will do an introduction video this week. You'll do some public advocacy. And then our big project will be our live policy argument, which will be broken down into two separate assignments. So, quizzes. There will be reading checks at the end, or in each week. They are open note, open book, two attempts. The higher of the two scores is what's going to be recorded. And the big thing there is it's more just to make sure that while you're reading, you're taking that information in. They are low value in this class, so it's just to help ensure that you are taking in that information. A blog, this is something that's going to go throughout the course of the semester. You will start the blog in week 1 and it will run through week 6. And we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get into the weekly folder. So due dates and late assignments. Everything has a due date. And once that due date passes, the discussion board, the submission box locks out and you will not be able to submit. So making sure that you are staying on top of your work is super important. I have done my best to try to make it really easy to know the dates the things fall under, when they're due, all that stuff. I will post every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday. So Monday to say, hey, here's what's going on. Thursday just as a check-in, and then Sunday as a reminder of what is due that evening. I have it set up in the grade book that if you don't submit something and the due date passes, it goes in as an automatic zero. So making sure you're staying on top of that. I do understand that life happens. Sometimes we just have a lot going on. So I do have something called the Oops Drop Box. We'll look at that when we log out. It does allow you to submit one assignment late at full credit. If you have a lot going on, that's when I say reach out to student advocacy. They can send everything that I need. We can make arrangements on that side. Waiting until the last minute to submit things is never a good idea. Blackboard sometimes doesn't like people when it gets close to that 11:59 deadline. So make sure you are submitting things in a timely manner. Don't wait until the last minute. Make sure that you back up everything, save things just in case. It's technology. Sometimes it just kind of sucks, and it is what it is. So, grading. A couple things with grading. I do have it broken down here by what the assignment is and then what the value is for each assignment. Take some time, look over those. It just gives you an idea. There is how the grades will be broken down as far as letter grades. Then you've got your pretty basic standard policy, so your non-discrimination policy, disabilities and accommodations. If you know that you are going to need accommodations for this class, please reach out day one of class because these are not retroactivated. So once you get approved, it will go into the system and then your accommodations start. So please, 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 if you know you need accommodations and you haven't done that yet, take the time to do this immediately. Student support services, these are just some additional services that we offer on campus that I strongly recommend you looking into if you feel that you need them. Academic integrity. So, short, sweet version, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, and we will be doing fantastic in this class. And to be honest, students will say, what about AI usage? There is a policy, a statement on artificial intelligence. But I will tell you, to be completely honest, in this class, it is more work to try to use a lot of AI to complete assignments than it is just to do the assignment. But AI is great for helping you find sources, checking, what you're saying, if it sounds valid. I'm using AI currently to transcribe this recording session. So, yes, it can be great. It can be super useful, but trying to use it to create any of the assignments, to be completely honest, it's going to be more work on your part than what people realize. So, copyright, intellectual property, you cannot use other people's content. You cannot use music that you do not own or that is not public domain. So, those are just some things to keep in mind. Same thing with images, all that good stuff. So, scheduling and course progression. So, this is just kind of a standard statement that you should expect to spend 16 to 18 hours every week on this course. That's a standard statement. I don't necessarily agree with that. If you get in there, you get your reading done. I would say most students spend probably 2 to 3 hours, probably about what you spend average on all of your other courses when you think about lecture halls and then coursework that you're doing at home. And I hate to say it feels like homework, but in this class, they are all projects. It's not necessarily homework, it is just the coursework for this class. So the schedule and deadlines, like I said, everything will close out. And for this class, I understand people work during the week, they work during the weekends. So I try to give you the maximum amount of time. So the class runs from Monday through Sunday. So you have until Sunday evening to submit everything. But it will be broken down, and you'll see in the weekly folders, it is broken down by the week. Everything that you'll need for reading and all the assignments will be in those weekly folders, just to try to keep it as simple and straightforward for each of you. So Again, due dates are all on Sunday, except because we like to make things complicated. That final week, when we get into week 8, the class does end on Friday. So the final life policy presentation worksheet will be due on Friday instead of Sunday. But don't worry, I'm going to remind you of that due date a lot. And everything is due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time zone. All right, so I'm going to pop down to the Oops drop box really quick. I kind of touched on that. You have until the end of week 6, which is going to end September 27th, to submit something late to the Oops drop box. So let's just say the week of the podcast, life is crazy. You don't have time. You decide you're going to use that as your Oops Dropbox. You have until September 27th, which is week 6, to submit that podcast. You will get it graded at full credit. So you can earn all the points back for that. I'm also going to pop up to the life policy sign up sheet. I am still finalizing this. I'm trying to wait until we get closer to some dates being released, but this is going to open up on the Sunday, the first Sunday of the semester. This is mandatory. You have to log in for one session during the semester. I will warn you that I tried to make it, students said they would prefer more daytime versus nighttime. So I tried to make more daytime slots available to everybody during this. This is 3 sections that are able to sign up for the life policy. There is the Kentucky game on the 3rd. Unfortunately, we do not have time listed yet. So I don't know what time the game is. So if attending the game is super, super important to you, I highly recommend signing up early to ensure that you get a slot that is not on game day. Currently, I have the times listed as a morning slot and then an afternoon slot, just assuming that it's going to be a nighttime game. It is a home game. If we need to make adjustments, we can, but unfortunately, I don't know what time the game is going to be yet. So, if between now and the time this opens up on Sunday, the game time is released, I will make adjustments so that there are no Zoom sessions during the game. But it is very hard to plan around football season, unfortunately. So just keep your eyes open for this opening up on the first Sunday of the semester, and it will be open until September 23rd if you have not signed up for a life policy session by the 23rd. You will be assigned a slot that is open. So please don't wait. Please make sure you take care of that as soon as possible. All right. I think that covers all of the basics of the course. If you're unsure about things in Blackboard, feel free to reach out. They make changes. They're probably going to make some changes right before the semester starts and things might get moved around, but hopefully we are set. So when you go into the weekly folders, I do have it, like I said, broken down by the week. I tried to include the date and kind of what the main project is, just so you're able to follow along. I try to keep it as organized as possible, but Blackboard and I, we don't like each other, and they make changes and they frustrate me a bit. So when you log into the folder, the first thing you're going to see, week 1 transcript and overview. It's just going to give you a transcript from this video, so if you need to read it. And then there's also going to be an overview that highlights whatever I talk about in this video. Feel free to watch that. I will also have the weekly video in here for you to see through YouTube if you need closed captioning. And then I will also have the video just posted directly in here so you don't have to navigate into YouTube. So for your reading, you've got tips for using Zoom, how to use Zoom. These are all direct links from Zoom. I will check them right before the semester starts. Sometimes Zoom likes to update their links, and I've got to go back in and do that as well. How to use Prezi, how to use Canva for presentations. These are just giving you multiple options for recording your first presentation this week. So, a speech of introduction, reading, how to write a blog, how blogs and social media are changing PR. This is your reading for the week. I am going to pop down here. So reading check one, that is going to cover the readings from up above. Open note, open book, 2 attempts. The higher of the two scores is going to be recorded. There is no time limit on here. I don't like to do time limits on tests. That way, if you need the time, but once you start it, it's going to force you to complete the quiz. If you close it out at whatever you've answered, that's what it's going to submit. The This is optional. You do not have to watch it. This is just my photo voices, which is going to be your assignment for this week, just so you can get to know a little bit about me and my wild crew that I live with. So let's hop into the blog first. This is going to be your semester long project. So you're going to have ownership and an online platform, and you will be blogging twice a week from week 1 to week 6. And this is just another form of online communication. A lot of bigger companies are turning more and more towards blogs, whether they're sharing tips. REI has a great blog, actually. They do a lot of like outdoor blogging. So if you've never checked it out, I think they do really well with it. So there are some ideas here if you're not sure. The biggest thing is I like to make sure any topic you choose in this class is completely up to you. I hated when professors would assign a topic that you needed to talk about because it wasn't always something A, that you liked, B, that you knew anything about, or that combination just kind of makes it less enjoyable. So you're going to pick a topic that you're passionate about. Common topics I've seen: fashion blogs, food blogs. I have really enjoyed over the semester. Students will rate the food in the dining halls on campus. I find that to be so entertaining. And honestly, you kind of get an idea of what people like. I kind of have an idea of what restaurants students do not like on campus based off of those vlogs. Sports, it is football season, so that is a common one. Maybe you'll talk about things going on in Gamecock football or across the SEC, NFL, whatever you would like to do. So you must create your blog by week 1 and add to it as the semester progresses. To receive full credit, you should have at least 2 weekly entries of at least 100 words each. They should be 2 separate posts. It should not be one big bulk blog. I will be checking in week 2 your blog. So if there's an issue with the link, if I see any issues in general, I will message you. If you're like right on track, I will let you know that you're on track. So I will check every single blog and give you feedback in week 2 so you know if you need to make any adjustments. And then I will be checking them weekly, but I won't go back and give feedback weekly just because that becomes very overwhelming, especially when there's 3 classes, 24 students each, plus other classes I'm teaching. So I will take the time in week 2 to reach out to every single person so you know what's going on, if I don't have your link, if the link's not working, if you need to make any changes. So you will submit your link here. If there is no issues and I am able to access your blog without an issue, I will let you know. You will not have to continue posting links. You will just keep adding to that blog. The platforms that you could use for this, you can only use one of two. So you could use either Tumblr or Blogger. Please do not use any other platform. I do have a reason for this. One, I have already provided you with all the information on uh, their policies and stuff like that. But also, these 2 websites will timestamp for you to ensure that you are getting credit for each weekly post. So, Tumblr or Blogger, it really just depends on where you're going to want to blog from. I have students that prefer to do all their blogging from their phone. If that's the case, I would recommend Tumblr because their app is much more friendly than the Blogger one. Blogger is through Google, so if you already have a Google account, it's easier to get it all set up if you're going to be doing everything from the desktop. So it really just depends on where you plan to write these posts from weekly. All right, so our big assignment for the week is a speech of introduction. So you're going to be creating what I call a photo voice. You're going to use photographs to tell us about you, who you are, what makes you you. You must be on camera. That is going to be really important. You must be on camera during your presentation with your photos. So Zoom is a great place to record this. You can also use Canva. That has the option. Prezi gives you the option of that. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, Teams, you can record through Teams, you can record through Google Meet, all these locations. So you need to have at least 5 to 7 photos of you. You can absolutely have more photos than that. If you watch mine, I have way more than 5 to 7 photos. That is totally fine, but you have to have at least 5 photos that appear in your presentation. So again, it is all about you. You're just telling us a story of who you are. It can be photos from a memorable trip, family, friends, significant others, things that identify you as a student of USC, all of these great things. So it has to be at least 2.5 minutes long. Most students, their video is longer than 2.5 minutes. In fact, mine is longer than 2.5 minutes, and that is totally fine. I never take off points for going over on time. It only hurts your grade if you are under. So making sure that you're hitting at least that 2.5 mark. This is just going to give you the chance to practice talking to your computer, which can be super weird. At this point, I talk to my computer all the time through these videos, so I'm used to it. But it can be weird at first. So it kind of just gives you an introduction. So long as you have your photos, you're on camera, things like that. I have a major curve in this first video because I know it's weird. You're trying to figure it out, you're trying to use it. So just know I do grade on a big curve in this first one. So long as you have your photos, you are on camera, and you are meeting that time, you're gonna be okay. So do not stress. That's the big thing in this class. Do not overstress any of this course content. So once you are all done, the preferred thing is for you to upload it to YouTube. That way I don't have to download a video, and it makes the grading process much faster. You will post that link right here. If you are uploading it to YouTube, please make sure that it is marked as unlisted. If it's marked as private, I will not be able to view it. So please make sure that it is marked as unlisted. If you want to be fun, you can totally put it in there as public, and then anyone can access it. If it's marked as unlisted, people have to have that link to be able to view your video. Anytime during the semester, if you know you submitted something and you receive a 0, it is going to be super important that you check the feedback, because normally that means there was something wrong with the link that you provided. I will let you know, and I will let you know the steps. But check your feedback before you reach out and say, hey, you gave me a 0 and I know I submitted that. So always, always, always check your feedback for this course. It's just faster to get to your attention if there's an issue and I give you a 0, and it gives you the opportunity to submit things to me with a working link. So that is all I have for you for this week. I know this video is super long. Other videos will not be this long. But if you have questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. Again, that is what I am here for. I'm here to support you as we learn together in this course. I hope everybody has a fantastic week, and I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you this semester. Have a great week, everybody.